Would you say you have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? So we know that neurodivergence comes in all shapes and sizes. So in this video, I'm going to share one of my differences, that is my extreme growth mindset that leads me to be atypical in a lot of ways. Yes, it's a great strength, but it's also a weakness I need to look out for in certain situations. This video has been sponsored by Shortform, a new app that I discovered recently that I think you're really going to love. But I'll tell you about that at the end. So if you're like me and you really love learning new things, make sure you stick around for that. Hi everyone, Paul Mikulev here from ASPERGERS from the Inside. I make weekly videos sharing the human side of autism, so make sure you hit subscribe to get the latest content. So we all have strengths and weaknesses, right? And something that I've come to understand is that it's not so much we have strengths over here and then weaknesses over here. It's almost like every strength is a weakness. So one of my strengths is that I have an extreme growth mindset, and one of my weaknesses is that I have an extreme growth mindset. So what does that mean? It means that I am very, very good at focusing on things and trying very hard and being competitive and succeeding in whatever I put my mind to, because I'm persistent, some would say stubborn, in my pursuit of whatever I've got in my sights at that time. It means that I'm constantly learning new things, and I'm interested in a wide variety of different areas, which gives me a good background for making decisions about my life and where I want to go and things like that. And that's all a really great strength of a growth mindset. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of things that come along with that I need to be really careful about. So you may have seen my other video around being misjudged as being arrogant. So the growth mindset, maybe I should have defined a growth mindset. So essentially a growth mindset is the belief that I can learn and change and grow, and that if I can't do something today, I can keep trying and maybe I'll be able to do it tomorrow. And that's contrasted with a fixed mindset, which basically says, I am who I am and I can't change, which means I'm either intelligent enough to do this, skilled enough to do this, or I'm not. And no amount of practice is going to make that better for me. So as I explained in the video around being misjudged as arrogant, sometimes this growth mindset leads me to have an effect on people that is quite negative, in the sense that I think it's really good because I'm growing and I'm constantly finding weaknesses, I'm constantly finding gaps, I'm constantly finding areas for improvement, and I'm constantly wanting to one-up myself and do better in all of these things. And what I've found, perhaps unsurprisingly, as you're listening to this, you're probably already predicting it, not everyone thinks that way. And if I start letting that part of myself come through too unfiltered, then people get the wrong idea. How my message comes across, and it's fantastic in my brain, it's all positive and everything. And when it comes across, it sounds more like, that's not good enough, we need to do better, here are all your problems. And that's a fairly critical message that is not often well received. So it's very interesting that the same message, my message is, we can do better, let's do better. And the message that's received is, you're not good enough. Your achievement isn't good enough. Your standard isn't good enough. What you've already achieved needs to be improved. And something that I've learned in my coaching is that it's always a good idea to celebrate victories. And my extreme growth mindset means that I forget to celebrate victories. If we have a milestone and we've achieved a new level, the natural thing that most people want to do is celebrate the fact that we've gone up a step. So what I need to do is remember that not everyone thinks the same as me, and it's not so much a matter of filtering myself as it is to think about how I'm going to be perceived in a certain situation and make sure that I communicate in a way that gets me understood correctly. So I don't want the people around me to think that I'm criticizing them. I'm not criticizing them. I think they're fantastic, and I see so much potential that I end up pointing out what could be better, and it gets taken as criticism. So this is a good example of how useful it can be to put on someone else's mindset and see how the same message might be interpreted from a different person. And it also means that I can learn a lot from other people. This is my growth mindset coming out, like, oh, wow, another perspective. Maybe I can learn from that. I can learn a lot from other people who think very, very differently to me. So what's the advantage of the opposite mindset to me? The advantage is maybe this is enough. Maybe we don't need to do better. Maybe we can celebrate what we've already done. Maybe we can take a break. Maybe we don't need to constantly do more and more and more and constantly raise the bar. Maybe everything is just okay and we don't need to stress. We can relax. One of the words that has the biggest emotional impact on me is the word enough. Because of my extreme growth mindset, I'm always doing more, and I need to hear the message, what you're already doing is enough. Actually, one of my favorite quotes is that today's trouble is enough for today. We don't have to worry about tomorrow today. And this is the kind of thing that I easily forget when I'm constantly focused on where can we improve, how can we do better. I mean, when I did my I did a core values exercise, and one of my 4 core values is continual improvement. This is a very, very important thing for me. So an example of how I had to learn this was a couple of years ago. I quit my job as an engineer and I went traveling in Europe for about 18 months, pre-COVID, obviously. And from the outside, it looked as though I was constantly doing new things. I was staying in a new city every 3 days or so. I was constantly traveling, constantly meeting new people. And from the outside, that might look like I'm doing more and more and more and more and always trying to do more. But actually, the experience of it myself was exactly the opposite of that. I could not plan more than like 2 days in advance. I might have some idea of where I'm going to sleep tomorrow night, but that was it. I really had to learn how to forget that continual improvement, how can I do better mindset, and just sit in the present and not do anything and think that everything I've already done is enough. So I spent about 18 months learning that, which was a fantastic lesson of how to live day to day. And what it taught me essentially is that I can do that if I put my mind to it. Ironically, the growth mindset in me that always wants to do better managed to find its complementary opposite, and I'm always stronger if I can incorporate the two things. So obviously I'm going to be more inclined to go to my natural style, and that's a great strength. We should all play to our strengths. But I guess the point is that there was a lot of value in trying to see the value I was missing from my own perspective. There's a saying that if you're a hammer, then everything is a nail. And what that means is that if I have only one way of doing things, I'm likely going to apply that one way of doing things all the time, even if it's not appropriate in that situation. So there's a time and a place for a growth mindset. There's a time and a place for looking at potential and finding gaps and possibilities and what can we do next. And there's also a place for just recognizing maybe I am enough already. Maybe I don't need to do anything more to be enough. You'll notice I keep using that word enough because it's so powerful to me. So this is fun. My growth mindset is fun. It's fantastic. And what I need to remember is we all have strengths, but I also need to be careful not to overdo my strengths. Maybe you can relate to having a special interest or something and overdoing it a little bit. And also to be kind to myself, because sometimes my own philosophy tends to be really hard on myself. So I don't always need to do better and better and better. Maybe I can just accept the notion that I'm enough. And secondly, I can be kind to other people as well. I can stop constantly looking for how other people can be better and just recognize that they don't necessarily need to improve either, because they probably don't want to, because their neurology is probably quite different to mine. So at the beginning of this video, I mentioned a new app that I've found recently. And if you've got a growth mindset like me, you're going to absolutely love it. So firstly, what is it? Well, basically, it's a massive library of extremely concise yet very detailed book summaries, plus a whole lot of other integrated features that take the whole thing to the next level. So there's lots of ways you can use the platform, but for me personally, there are just so many books that I've kind of heard of. Like, they might be classics, they might be recommended to me by different people, and there's absolutely no way I'm going to be able to read them all, right? But with short form, I can basically look them up, read a really quick one-page synopsis. If I'm interested, I can look at the really detailed chapter reviews. I can even listen to the whole thing, audially, so I don't have to use my eyes. It's just really easy to get sucked in. And if I haven't had enough by the end of the summary, then I can actually go and buy the book knowing that it's going to be good, right? So I've essentially filtered out all the ones that I'm not really interested in, leaving the ones I really want to focus on. Interestingly, one of the best things about the whole thing, in my opinion, is the fact that the summaries have links to each other. And if you see something referenced in one book, there'll also be a link to more information about the same topic in somewhere else, which is fantastic, especially when you're reading older books, because you never really know if content is still relevant or not. So, I mean, what do newer books say on the same thing? So with the cross-referencing, it's a lot easier to make sure I'm getting a complete picture. Anyway, so that's short form. They have books on basically everything from business, education, self-improvement, tech, math, science, stacks of different hobbies from kung fu to soap making. There's also new books being added every week, and you can even request new titles if there's something in particular that you'd like to see. So if you'd like to try it out for yourself, you can get an unlimited 5-day trial. And if you do choose to sign up later, you'll also get 20% off an annual subscription, all available using the link below, shortform.com/Paul. So there you have it. That's my extreme growth mindset. It's very useful. I personally love it, but obviously it can also get me into trouble if I'm not careful. So I'm really curious to hear if you can relate to this video as well. So please leave a comment if you'd like to share your experience too. And I guess that's it for today. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this valuable, and I will see you again next week. Bye.